I'd like to introduce Melinda Ellsworth, who is, she is Vice President of Donor Services over there at Science Care. We've been talking about Science Care a lot because it's one of my favorite issues. Before I met Melinda, I really didn't know anything about what you do with your body other than what the traditional way is you either cremate or you get in a box. And that wasn't of interest to me, but I didn't know what else there was. And all of a sudden, I had the good fortune to talk with Melinda Ellsworth over there at Science Care and found out that there's something that you can have done with your body. Because as far as I was concerned, when you die, it's over. And you might as well do something, excuse me, if you can, that would make you still give. And I like to give. And so this was a good thing. So welcome to the show, Melinda. Sorry to be so long-winded.
That's okay. Thank you so much for that introduction. You really, really captured the essence of Science Care when you said this is a way for people to give back. So Science Care is an organization that links people who want to give back through donating their body to medical science with the medical researchers, trainers, educators who need human tissue to do important work. And it's a wonderful way for folks to really give a gift, an unbelievable gift of their entire body, and the use of that body, the tissue from that body, is so important and transformative in developing medical treatments, medical treatment options, medical devices, medical surgical techniques. All of these things are a result of body donation. So thank you for having me again.
Oh, it's always so much of a pleasure. And of course, Melinda is not close to South Florida. She is calling in from Phoenix, Arizona, which is also a very nice place to be from. But it's amazing what the difference, of course, in our weather. I mean, I think Arizona is very hot, isn't it? And then it gets very cold in the winter. Am I right?
Yes, it's extremely hot in the summer, yes, you're right. And in the wintertime, it can get really cool at night. Yeah, recently it's been in the 40s.
Oh, well, that's what we've been
cool.
having. Yeah, that's true, and we've been having the same thing. But one thing I remember when I was there in, I don't know if it's Scottsdale or where I was, I've been at Phoenix too, but I think that you have very, very beautiful star systems. When you look up in the sky, it seems like it's darker there, and you get to see the stars better. Am I right?
Well, it's amazing. Yeah, we have such wide open skies and wide open spaces. You can really see a lot, especially if you do get out on the outskirts of town so you don't have the light pollution. Yeah, you can really see some amazing stargazing views.
And who knows what that star is? It could be one of the people who went to Science Care. You know, I always look up there and say, oh my goodness, that's the world up there. All those stars, they're people. You know, you say, oh, who's that up there? What's that up there? But kidding aside, it is really a great thing that there is such a company as Science Care. And I know I do a lot of kidding about this, and I'll just tell you one more thing that I have been so brazen about it, but in fact, I just had a doctor on the show before you came on, and she's been practicing for a long time. She's an internist. And I told her about Science Care, and then I said, do you remember your cadaver? Mm-hmm. And they all smile. I mean, this is kind of the right word, because I'll bet no one ever asked her that.
I'll bet not.
No, who says that? But, of course, then it gives me the shoe-in on Science Care. But
I know, it's absolutely amazing. You know, when we talk to medical schools, we work with medical schools around the world, and when we talk to those programs about the donors that we send to them, they have such a respectful way of talking about the donors. They typically will hold a memorial service after the semester or after the coursework is over with the students. They, really get to know, if you will, through the body, that donor, and they are so appreciative because there's no way, simulations, textbooks, plastic models, they just simply cannot give you what hands-on experience can give you. And that's why donation is so important. And it's not just for students. We're talking about surgeons that are practicing today and need to learn the newest technique, the latest medical device, the newest treatment for disease, or maybe it's R&D, research and development organizations that are developing these new treatments, devices, things like that for improving health for all of us. And we don't talk about it enough. So I'm really glad to be on your show again because it helps us to talk about this, and it's such a wonderful way to give back.
Well, I want to add to what you said. We have been working with some orthopedic surgeons, and the companies that make a lot of the products that they need, and they have a big place here where they bring in maybe 12 orthopedic surgeons into their big lab, and they need cadavers to be able to have them, and maybe it's not the whole body, it's just the knees, the hips, to be able to work on them to show what their products do. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and this hands-on demonstration training, it impacts patients, the next day when they go out into their practice, their clinical practice. It helps them to improve their delivery of healthcare. This type of work, specifically around minimally invasive surgical techniques and devices, has really helped to improve outcomes for patients by minimizing trauma to the body during surgery, minimizing the recovery time, the pain involved, the dependence on narcotics to manage that pain, etc. So it is very important, and on a daily basis, we're working with clients the world over who need human tissue in order to do this type of research, development, training, and delivery for patients. And what's beautiful, you said I'm in Phoenix, is that this program through Science Care is nationwide, and we have a facility right there in the Coral Springs area. We can accept donors in Florida, bring them right into our Florida donation center, and we can utilize those donors right there in that local market, right, with doctors, physicians, surgeons, researchers, and developers in the local southeast region. So it's a way for you really to give back to your own local community and medical community as well.
Yes, and I know that you have people all over the country that are able to do this. So if you talked about Coral Springs, of course, but no matter where this happens, whether you're traveling, whether you live somewhere else, and you sign up for Science Care, they're not going to let you sign up unless they feel that they can provide that service.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what's really unique about this kind of donation is we have really broad acceptance criteria. So most everyone will qualify. The main rule-outs for donation at this point are contagious disease, such as HIV, AIDS, hepatitis B or C, active syphilis, things like this, and extreme obesity. But other than that, most everyone will qualify, and it's an easy process, but it's also no cost. So there's no cost to the donor. There's no cost to the family. Once we go through that acceptance process and say, yep, we're good to go, we handle everything. And our donation services coordinators are here 24 hours a day to start that process and to take care of everything and make it as easy as possible on your family.
The one thing that you have to be sure when you do sign up and you get the card that they give you, that you put it in your wallet. Because if something happens to you, right, nobody kind of knows what to do unless they contact your family. You have to tell your family. I will tell you, I did talk to a family member. It wasn't that a close family member. I was mentioning it, and I said, you ought to think about it. And they got so irate with me. They said, I would never do that. My family's going to fly me up here, and I'm going to be with my mother and my father in the grave. And I just backed off. I said, okay.
Yeah, it's totally not for everyone. That's for sure. And we know that it's not for everyone. But there are so many people out there who are, looking for a way to give back in another way. Maybe they're really giving in their life. We have a lot of teachers, public safety officers, just your average everyday person who wants to give back. This is a great option. In fact, I was going to tell you this. I'm so excited we're talking today. This is our 15-year anniversary this year. Yeah, and we have over 75,000 people on the donor registry. So people like you and I who sign up to be on the registry. And we have worked with over 30,000 physicians, surgeons, to do hands-on surgical training over these 15 years. And it is increasing year upon year. I think that the medical community is really seeing the benefit and the value of being able to work with these gifts to impact patient outcomes. And so it's just a wonderful way, like I said, to give back, and so simple. When you talked about when you sign up to put the card in your wallet, I wanted to reiterate that we also give you extra cards, right? And those are to give to your family members, your close family members, your friends. Talk to them about what you want. Talk to them about your wishes so they know how to carry out your wishes when it's time. They're the ones who are going to pick up the phone and call Science Care. So let them know what you want, because we find that people just want to know what their loved one wants. The angst comes in when they don't know what their loved one wanted. So this is a great way to open that conversation, and you can sign up online very simply with a click, and we'll send you the information in the mail.
Right. I mean, absolutely. It's just what you said. It's, it's the confusion. So I guess I have to just sit down with my children, my adult children too, and tell them. I think I've casually mentioned it, but I think I have to give them one of your forums so that they do know this, because you never know what can happen to you, and they should really, and I think they're sophisticated enough to understand it, and just that's what you should do. I only wish I knew about this before my mother passed away, or my mother bought the casket with her sisters and all. But you're right. Tradition sometimes, the elders, really, my mother was in her 90s. It's just too late for them. They don't understand it or know it. Although that's not true, because I did talk to a woman in her 90s the other day, and she was very excited. I think she called you. She and her sister.
Yes, she did.
Right.
Yeah, you signed up. That was great.
Yeah,
I know. Well, that's a great point too. There is no age limit. Anyone of any age can be a great donor. We typically accept donors over 18. There isn't a lot of medical client demand or need for donors under 18. But I think our oldest donor was 104 years old. So don't discount yourself based on your medical history or your age or anything. In fact, I did some research, pulled some numbers, and every donor that goes through the Science Care program, on average, we're able to place with 5 different medical research and training programs. Because it's important to us that we try to really honor the intent of the gift as much as possible. So we're looking for ways to maximize each donor with as many projects as we can.
That's excellent. Yes, that's exactly what I know you do. I mean, and I've had now enough time with you and with your associates to know that this is a very, very important company that really cares. I mean, this is not a little fly-by-night company, as Melinda Ellsworth just said. They just celebrated their 15th year, and I mean, they would give you so many testimonials if you needed them. But let me give you a way to get in touch with them. You can call toll-free at 1-800-417-3747. That's 1-800-417-3747. Or you can just get on the web and go to sciencecare.com. Sciencecare.com. And then you'll be right there to talk to someone. It's so easy, and that's and I think we had another instance where a very close friend of ours here in South Florida was an exhibitor, and her son didn't have much money. He was in his 20s, lived in North Carolina, and had almost a fatal accident. He was on life support, and I heard about it, and I got in touch with her, and it was a little nervy for me to do it, but I knew her circumstances, and she knew me, and she was so thrilled to hear about it, and I know that you all did do that for him.
Right. Yeah, and the thing to understand is you don't have to be registered with the program. If you're a next of kin, if you're someone who's responsible for making these decisions, you can call us anytime, and we'll start the process to determine if your loved one can go through the program. I would say donors today are about half and half, pre-registered and not, meaning people call us at time of need, or even after time of need. A lot of time we have people who've gone to the funeral home, start having those conversations about what to do, and they realize, frankly, sticker shock. On average, it's costing about $9,000 for a traditional funeral these days with burial, and that's really hard for a lot of people. So having this no-cost option that also is such a wonderful way to give back. It's such a win-win for society, for medical research, and for the family members who are surviving, who may not have the financial means. This is a great option. And I would encourage anyone just to give us a call and talk about it. Like I said, our coordinators are here. They're experts in talking about all of your questions, as well as we have an in-depth FAQ section on our website. So feel free to check that out as well.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, one thing you said you wanted to talk about, since this is going to be February, we want to talk about what is February to you?
Absolutely. So you may have known this before, but February is Heart Health Month, right? It's Valentine's, so that's a great fit, Heart Health Month. So you see a lot of things from the American Heart Association and whatnot. So what I wanted to talk about today is how donors through Science Care are helping to improve heart health for patients and helping to improve longevity and quality of life for heart disease patients. So a couple of cool little projects that have gone on in the last 12 months with Science Care. So donors have helped researchers develop a longer-lasting dilation device. So this helps patients to avoid an entire valve replacement. If we can keep the organ dilated enough to keep the blood flowing through without having to go in and do a full valve replacement, that's obviously better, less traumatic for the patient. And then also, this is really great. A lot of people have pacemakers. It's a very, very common implantable device. But in the past, they have been kind of cumbersome. You had to be really careful. The surgery itself caused some pain and had some recovery time. The new devices that they're developing are so easy to insert. It's a less traumatic surgical procedure. In fact, it's an in and out procedure, and the devices not only are better performing, longer lasting, but they really impact the patient's quality of life because they can be much more active. You don't have to be so careful. You can do things like heavy exercise, swimming, things like this that you couldn't do before. And then another one which directly impacts patients is surgical training. So if a patient does have to go in and have a mitral valve replacement, for example, right, a pretty serious surgery, surgeons need to be trained on the most recent techniques, minimally invasive techniques where possible to prevent excess trauma to the body, excess downtime, and also each development of the new devices. The surgeons need to go in and practice using that so that when they do go in, they feel more confident. That procedure it can be done in a shorter period of time with less complications. So these are just 3 examples of how donors going through the Science Care program are directly able to impact heart health. And I just wanted to highlight this because it's a great time, it's a fun time when everybody's talking about heart health in February to remember that you can give back and help others.
Wow, that's great. So send a Valentine's card with a little note in it. It's not that I want to talk about.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that's really true. You get into all this. I would love to just sit there at your desk for one day and hear the various kinds of calls that come in. They must be hysterical.
Oh my gosh, we get every call you can imagine. Some people, they're really in the throes of grief, and we can certainly handle that, but we've got people like you and I who call in, and we want to ask every crazy question there is, and the staff here, they are so well-versed, and, they have a sense of humor. So if you want to call in and ask any crazy question you want, please do, because the more you know about this, the more comfortable you're going to be, and the more comfortable you're going to be explaining it to your family. And also, I encourage your family members, when you talk to them, have them call in. We've done conference calls with families where they can all ask questions. Mom wants to do this. What does this mean? How does this work? What do I have to do? And you can get all your questions answered. Yeah, it's great.
Right, thank you. That's great.
And another way, too, is following us on social media. We try and push out as much information as possible, including, stories about why I joined the registry or why I donated my loved one through the Science Care program. And that can also help you to understand from real people's perspectives of why this was important to them. So, yes, Facebook, Twitter, our blog, please check that out.
Yeah, okay, well, let's do that again. Let's do the, at least get your number here, and it's sciencecare.com. That's the website. Phone number is 1-800-417-3747. That's 24 hours a day, by the way. And how do they get on your Facebook page?
Yeah, absolutely. Just type in Science Care, and it will pop up, and then you can like our page, and you will be able to see all of our updates.
Oh.
We try and post every day so that there's some new, interesting, fun fact about medical research or healthy living or senior living, hospice care, caregiving, you name it. We've got content on there that will appeal to you as someone interested in medical research. So check it out. It's pretty fun.
Okay. I hope people will do that. And tell us, every once in a while I like to ask you this about, because sometimes people have never heard the show before. Tell us about the founders of Science Care. That's so interesting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Jim and Josie Rogers, they're a husband and wife team, and they founded the organization, again, 15 years ago. Jim is still the CEO and president, active in the company, and it's a fascinating story because he was going door to door, doing pre-need sales for burial and things like that. And he was sitting across the table from families, and they would say, I want to donate to medical research, medical science. I don't know how to do this. How do I do that? And he frankly didn't have the answer. And it got him thinking. And so he put together a plan. He did his research, and he decided 2 years later to launch the company, and his wife was 8 months pregnant, if you can believe that. That's a leap of faith.
Right.
Launched the company and never looked back, and it's just been an amazing ride. This entire industry is emerging and continuing to emerge. Like I said, it's just growing and growing and growing. And it's a wonderful organization to be a part of because it is so life-affirming. And that's the story of Science Care. It's just a wonderful family-owned company and with great values to help people.
Yep. And, of course, I've also asked this of Melinda, are there other companies that do this? And what have you told me?
Yes, there certainly are. There are maybe about 10 companies nationwide. I would encourage everyone to do research, do your due diligence, make a phone call, and you certainly want to ask about accreditation with the American Association of Tissue Banks. This is a very important distinguishing factor. It is a voluntary accreditation program, and this means that a third-party, scientifically based, independent party will come in and audit the operations every 3 years to make sure that you have a quality system in place, safety standards, and that the entire organization is following a rigorous set of quality standards. So that is critical. Even if you don't work with Science Care, please look for an AATB accredited organization.
Well, that's excellent because most people know nothing about this. This is probably new for so many people. I know that's why you've been working with us to try to get to the population here in South Florida, which is a perfect population for you. So I am so glad about that. And the other thing is that people who, well, let me ask you, did I ask you this before? Can we donate our dog?
I don't know if you've asked me that one. That's a new one. No, we don't work with pets, only humans.
Well, think about that. What about all the vets? They need to practice on something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know what? There may be organizations just like us for pets. I have no idea, though, but that's a great question.
I always got you, right? Because I
You
was
always have a good one. That's a great
well,
one.
it's because I think a lot about this, and because it's
Okay.
fascinating to me. It's really an important issue. So this is, in essence, what it's really going to be. So if you're ill and you know you are really going to be terminal and you're going to pass away, make sure that if you have done nothing, that you don't let your family convince you, oh yes, well we want you to be in the cemetery, or we want if you want to be cremated, we're just going to have this wonderful urn. Or some people even do beautiful art urns. I mean, they have someone design an urn and they put you in it. No, don't do that, please. Consider science care, where when you do pass away, it's not the end. It's really the beginning for so many people. The medical doctors, researchers, people who need to have a body, and that's what you represent. I mean, you're not in the body anymore. You are gone, but you still have something to offer, and you have no idea when that doctor goes on to his practice and what he does. You have been an important part of this. So I certainly urge you to consider science care. If you are perfectly healthy and you don't expect to pass away, you could be young, you should still make this preparation. It depends. If you want to do it, you should do it now, because one never knows what's going to happen. And make sure that your family member knows. You can look all this up and see. If you go to sciencecare.org, sciencecare.com, you will see a lot of information. And people have done this all ages are doing this. It's not just that older person. And so I really attest to them big time. I think I am so happy that I know that's what's going to happen to my husband and myself. And the pain, I just say this before because we're just about out of time. The one thing, Melinda, is when someone passes away, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen. Oh, I mean, even if you have a funeral director and all that, a lot of stuff. I've just through that with someone, and they wanted to have their body shipped somewhere else, and they had to go through all sorts of, you had to have the death certificates, you had to have this and that. But anyway, you don't have to have this, and we'll have to talk more about it next time. But Melinda, I really appreciate your calling us, and I hope that we have a very happy February Heart Health Month.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to talk to you again.
It is for me too, Melinda. All right, bye.